Hello, class, and welcome to this second portion of the start of World War II. Just a quick refresher course. Hitler has taken power in Germany, and he has slowly broken all of the different restrictions placed on him and on Germany that were placed on him by the Treaty of Versailles in 1919. He has engaged in the appeasement policy with France and Great Britain, and now he has signed the Nazi-Soviet non-aggression pact with the Soviet Union so that he can go ahead and begin his expansion. As of September 1st, 1939, Hitler invades Poland, starting World War II. That is the most commonly referred to date for the start of this war. Within a couple of weeks, he's going to conquer the vast majority of the country that he was supposed to conquer. By May 1940, he's going to switch his entire army over from Poland to France. France, where he had traditionally gotten stuck before, where Germany had gotten stuck before, he's going to be able to conquer within 6 weeks. So it took almost 5 years for Germany to conquer about a quarter of France in World War I. In World War II, they're going to conquer all of it in 6 weeks. The rest of Europe is going to fall by 1941. This conquest is going to take 2 years total. For Napoleon, 150 years prior to this, it took him almost 10 years. Centuries prior, the Roman Empire was able to conquer the same amount of land in roughly 200 years. So what separates Hitler's German army in World War II from all previous armies that have existed? Fairly briefly and succinctly, it's a new battlefield tactic called the Blitzkrieg. Blitzkrieg means lightning war. It emphasizes speed and close air support combined with heavy armor. If you look at the drawing right over here, you'll see kind of what the Blitzkrieg does. The blue arrows represent heavy armor. We're talking brand new Panzer tanks that are specifically designed to drive very quickly and to have a very heavy cannon so it can punch through very lightly armored other vehicles. Those Panzer tanks will punch through the weak portions of the enemy line, encircle the enemy, and then crush them from all sides. Hitler's army did not just do this in one location. They did it in dozens of locations across the entire French line. French defense network. The French then became essentially disorganized, chaotic, and fled in all directions to try to avoid the Panzer tanks and the close air support that was with it. The German war machine was just so much more advanced in technology than even the French and the British, which again, in World War I, they were relatively comparable, but in World War II, the Germans are going to blow them out of the water. The Blitzkrieg is going to work across Europe to give Hitler's army a huge advantage in military speed and power. Once Hitler successfully invades France, he's going to start bombarding and trying to destroy the infrastructure of Great Britain by having his air force, called the Luftwaffe, fly over Great Britain and bombard them into submission. His eventual plan is to send over millions of soldiers into Great Britain to conquer the island, but until they're softened up by his air force, he's going to switch his focus. It had always been Hitler's ambition to be considered the greatest military commander of all time, and so he wanted to do what previous commanders could not do. Previous commanders like Napoleon could never conquer Russia, and so he wanted to conquer Russia. In June 1941, he will launch what's called Operation Barbarossa. He will break the Nazi-Soviet non-aggression pact and invade the Soviet Union. The Blitzkrieg will be super effective into Russia, and he will conquer huge amounts of Russian territory until he is stopped at Leningrad and Stalingrad by the ever-present Russian winter. When the Russian winter kind of jumps in, Hitler's tanks will freeze up, his trucks will not be able to move, and so he stops there for the winter. We're going to shift our focus a little bit now and focus on the Japanese, one of the other allies of Germany. Japan, in the years prior to the invasion of Poland in 1939, has already been launching its own war in Asia against its Asian neighbors. This is mostly due to the fact that the Japanese need massive amounts of natural resources in order to continue their industrial revolution. And so they start invading the areas that they know are rich in natural resources. Their closest neighbor is going to be the Korean Peninsula, which they're going to annex very quickly. And then they're going to move into actual mainland China at the area known as Manchuria. Now, Manchuria is this region up here in northern China that is very rich in oil and natural resources. Throughout the 1930s, they're going to be at war with China. And then the Japanese are going to continue to expand to other places. The worst place they're going to expand is going to be down here. This is called French Indochina. It's now modern-day Vietnam. When they do that, the United States is going to not like it at all. French Indochina is a French colony. It is also an ally then of the United States. When the United States gets word that they have invaded, we break off all trade with Japan. Now, Japan, although they're conquering lots of land, still needed about 60% of their oil was coming from the United States. Another about half of their steel production and other metals were coming from the United States as well. So when they invaded our ally, we told them, hey, we're not going to give you any more stuff unless you pull out of those areas. Japan decided, you know what, we're going to continue our attack, and we don't need your stuff. With this decision, Japan decides that they're going to try to take out the only other real power in Asia. They're going to take out the United States. For about a year, they plan out a large-scale attack on the United States, the United States Pacific Fleet. The United States Pacific Fleet is anchored in Pearl Harbor, Hawaii. So in the weeks leading up to December 7th, 1941, they plan and practice. So on that Sunday morning, December 7th, then the Japanese attack. We have no idea it's coming, and the results are absolutely devastating to us. We lose a couple dozen ships, including all 8 of our major battleships. 2,400 people are dead, 200 aircraft are destroyed, and effectively Japan has just declared war on the United States. This fleet was our presence in the Pacific. So when it's destroyed, we have little to no response to Japanese aggression in the region. Here's kind of just a map of the different ships and where they were positioned on the day in Pearl Harbor. You can see that all the major ships right in this region here, these are all of our battleships, and they hit those hard. And sank or completely destroyed most of them. Most of the smaller, cheaper ships they left untouched. We did get lucky, though. The 3 major things that we really were that were major targets for the Japanese are the aircraft carriers. We'll talk about these more later, but the Lexington, Saratoga, and Enterprise were our 3 aircraft carriers that were supposed to be at Pearl Harbor. But due to what they saw, what the U.S. Navy saw as the growing threat of Japan over the last month or so, they sent these 3 aircraft carriers out just a few days prior to December 7th to go and start scouting out some other locations that might be attacked by the Japanese. So our greatest assets were not at Pearl Harbor when they were attacked. Immediately following December 7th, Pearl Harbor, the President of the United States, FDR, makes a speech in front of Congress asking for Congress to declare war. December 8th, 1941, the United States declares war on Germany, Italy, and Japan. Within about 72 hours, 6 million individuals have already volunteered to be part of the new United States Army of World War II. Over the course of the next 4 years, a total of about 25 million Americans will serve in World War II. So here's what it looks like at the end of this very chaotic 2 years of World War II. Great Britain, France, the Soviet Union, and the United States are going to be allied against Germany, Italy, and Japan. Up until this point, the Axis powers have been dominating, but we're going to see in the coming lessons that the Allies are going to strike back hard and fast. All right, look forward to the next video.